This is the author of Divinity of Doubt. Man has written many books, and his work in the legal field speaks for itself. Divinity of Doubt, the God Question. Vince Bugliosi. Vince, how are you?
Okay, Dennis. Thank you so much for having me on the show. You know what I wrote about in the Bush book? I think it shows a tremendous amount of character and class on your part to have me on the show.
Oh, listen,
I
Bush,
appreciate it.
I'm not I'm not a blood relative with Bush.
No,
for God's sakes.
no.
It's just I disagree with you on him. But I mean, men who are essentially decent men can not.
I can't
be
hear you
like-minded.
too well, Dennis.
I'm saying that we can disagree on things and still find each other decent cats.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's no more swift or witty mind on radio or TV, and I'm honored to be on the show.
Well, thank you, Vince. Let's talk about the new book, Divinity of Doubt, the God Question. Well,
right.
Where do you stand on God, and what inspired you to write or did not inspire you to write the book?
Well, Dennis, you probably know a little bit about me that I like challenges, and there's no bigger challenge than taking on the God question. And I had read the Bible, Dennis, and had done a lot of thinking about God and religion throughout the years, but I decided to go beyond this, take 2 years out of my life, and completely immerse myself in the subject, like I always do when I get involved, 7 days a week, 80 to 90 hours a week, to see if age-old religious beliefs that so many people accept just blindly had any merit to them. And at the risk of sounding presumptuous, Dennis, what I discovered was, in my opinion, extremely startling. And if we have a little time, I'd like to just briefly go over some of the things that I found.
Yeah, we got 2 segments. So just keep in mind the blind nature of faith is the intoxicant to some people.
Yes.
It's not all factual with that.
No, I understand that. I found that, Dennis, that contrary to popular belief, the Bible really does not suggest or support the notion of free will. In fact, astonishingly, the Bible supports the exact opposite, that there is no free will. And I can give you the citations for that. It turns out that the immortality of the soul was a pure invention of Plato that Christianity was literally forced to embrace, because without it, there's no life after death, and if there's no life after death, then there's no heaven and hell for Christianity to offer or threaten its followers with. Perhaps the most startling discovery, Dennis, of all, I found evidence in the New Testament and Hebrew Bible that proves, not just beyond a reasonable doubt, but beyond all doubt, that Jesus actually, according to the Bible, was not born of a virgin, and therefore, by definition, was not the Son of God. And if he was not the Son of God, the Christian doctrine that God had his Son die on the cross for our sins goes out the window too, in effect ravaging much of Christianity. Now, I know this sounds very, very hard to believe, but it just happens to be the truth. By the way, I deal very harshly in my book with atheism, which I view as an intellectually empty philosophy, whose current champions, Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, you know these people, they simply cannot find a non sequitur that they do not like. And I don't know whether or not there's a God. I'm an agnostic. But if there isn't, my view is that atheistic dogma does not lead one rationally to that conclusion.
Well, let me say this, Vince. I'm a believer in God, but I also, when I hear some story about a virgin, I don't necessarily sidle up to that thing and go, and I base my belief in this. But I would say this: when you talk about working 90 hours a week on something, and peeling it back to this extent that you found an old, what did you say, the Hebrew version of the Bible? Or what?
I'm finding it hard to hear. You're going off and on. I hear it.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When you study anything this much,
right.
even a Star Trek episode,
right.
It might begin to fall apart for you. Do you not find comfort in the fact that there's a bunch of people in a world seemingly gone mad who believe in God and derive comfort from it when their heads hit the pillow at night? I don't ever feel the need to dissuade them from that. Do you?
No, I don't. You could even use the argument that ignorance is bliss, but if we accept the Socratic imperative that what's all important is the truth, then do we seek the truth as opposed to a lack of knowledge, or do we feel that the lack of knowledge is actually superior to the truth? But there's no question that people derive an enormous amount of comfort and solace and strength from the Bible, and I'm not telling them I'm not trying to discourage them from doing that. In fact,